Hello and welcome to Lyra Nara. In today's video we are going to talk about Bartonella, an insidious strain of bacteria that is often found as an infection or a co-infection, to be more precise, in Lyme disease patients, but not only. And we're gonna discuss everything that you need to know about Bartonella, how it behaves in your body, how it proliferates, why you cannot fight it with antibiotics, all the strains and the different symptoms they produce, and at the end, of course, most importantly for you, we're gonna show you some natural supplements and remedies that will help you get rid of this insidious bacteria. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, let's learn more about Bartonella. Bartonellosis is a difficult and often seriously debilitating disease. That is the disease that this type of bacteria causes. It often appears as a Lyme co-infection, as I've already mentioned in the introduction, together with Mycoplasma, Babesia, but it can also be an infection vector on its own. When it attacks the central nervous system, it creates severe conditions such as MS, ALS, and autism. And an infectious endocarditis is also caused by Bartonella. It's called Carrion's diseases or angiomatosis. Often Bartonella infections are misdiagnosed by the medical community. Bartonellosis is neither a rare nor a simple condition to treat. Bartonella infections also have been around for thousands of years, but the identification and characterization of Bartonella bacteria species started only about 20 years ago. On PubMed, if you go, there are nowadays thousands of peer-reviewed articles about Bartonellosis, and virtually every mammal harbors one or more Bartonella species that are transmissible by a blood-sucking arthropod vector, such as a flea, a fly, lice, or a louse. The CDC underestimates Bartonella infections by a factor of 100 to 1,000, and it is assumed that about 12 to 32 million people in the US alone develop infectious endocarditis, and from those 600,000 to 9 million people are infected by the Bartonella. And the situation is alarming not only in the US but also around the world. It is assumed that 3 to 6% of the blood donors are infected with Bartonella, and thus considerable amounts of Bartonella infected blood is given in hospitals to healthy patients, and this leads to numbers such as 8 to 17 million Bartonella infected people who have not yet manifested symptoms. And 25 to 40% of ticks are infected with Bartonella and Borrelia, and this corresponds to several million newly infected people with Bartonella per year in the US alone. And there are 19 Bartonella strains that infect humans, and we're gonna talk in a little bit more detail about them in the course of this presentation. But first, let's get a better understanding of the Bartonella's epidemiology. So Bartonella is a so-called gram-negative bacteria of the Proteobacteria group. Interestingly enough, alpha Proteobacteria, to which the Bartonella belongs, include also Ehrlichia, Anaplasma, Rickettsia, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever, all of which are Lyme co-infections. And this group members share virulence and resistance due to their double wall structure that we're gonna explain in a little bit more detail. All members of this alpha Proteobacteria phylum share DNA between themselves and with their hosts in order to secure their own proliferation. And the effect of this synergy is that you get sicker by the day and the therapy becomes more and more difficult. Bartonella is also very resistant to all antibiotics and uses 3 mechanisms to defend itself against antibiotics. It has double cell walls. It uses a special group of enzymes called beta-lactamases, which deactivate the beta-lactam antibiotics. It also uses a variety of multi-drug efflux pumps that are pumping away the antibiotics. They also know how to metabolize the antibiotic and make it into their own food. Bartonella are also fastidious, they are aerobic, they are slow growing, they are pleomorphic, non-motile, non-spore forming, and hemotropic bacteria. And they are choosy in what they eat, like oxygen, and they take only 24 hours to reproduce. They have variations in their size and shape. They do not have flagella and cannot propel themselves. They love the blood and they live intracellularly, so inside your cells. And they are very tiny, only 2 to 5 microns long and only about 0.2 to 0.5 microns wide. They can also enter the body through a variety of mechanisms, including bites, scratches, insects. They also who seek blood meal, such as lice, ticks, fleas, and also ingestion. Many ticks carry Bartonella species such as ixodes, dermacentor, rhipicephalus, as well as hemaphysalis. Biting fleas also carry Bartonella, such as Lepoptina, Hippobosca, and Melophagus. Bartonella also undergoes many genetic changes to adapt to the environment and host-specific conditions, and every 5 days the Bartonella releases new bacteria into your bloodstream to keep the red blood cells infected. And here you have a list of all the Bartonella strains, their primary as well as accidental hosts, and the diseases they can cause in us humans. For example, if you go through the list, the first one is Bartonella bovis. As the name already suggests, the primary host is cattle, but it can be also encountered in dogs, cats, deer, and elk. And it can not be found in us humans. But the next one on the list, the Bartonella claridgeae, can be primary host here is the cat, but can be also found in us humans as well as dogs, and it causes endocarditis in us humans. The third one on the list, for example, is Bartonella elizabethia. Primary hosts are rats, but can be also encountered in us humans and dogs, and again it causes endocarditis. And if you are really interested in all of those, please pause the presentation here for a moment and go through the list in detail. And all of those Bartonella strains can cause a whole range of symptoms, such as unexplained fevers, cold extremities, seizures, severe rage, rashes, hot flashes, anxiety and panic attacks, muscle twitches and tremors, brain inflammations, memory loss, spinal cord inflammations, noise intolerance, being easily upset, blurred vision, burning pain in the legs and feet, liver disorders, enlarged spleens, eye infections and pain behind the eyes, depressions, polyps in and around major organs, intravascular diseases, non-pitting edema, severe mood swings, bone marrow inflammations, eye and vision disorders, tender subcutaneous points, behavior changes, sharp frontal headaches, hot and burning skin sensations, severe muscle spasms, dizziness, lack of muscle coordination, progressive anemia, gastritis, fatigue, brain infections and brain fog, muscle weakness, etc., etc. Here you can see some pictures of Bartonella manifestations, because while the Borrelia breaks collagen, the Bartonella attacks the so-called endothelial cells, especially those that line the blood vessels. Bartonella also spreads throughout the lymph system and colonizes the bone marrow. Uncontrolled growth in the endothelial cells creates different hyperplasia as well as angiomatosis, which is a growth of the epithelial cells in blood vessels. And many people with Lyme disease or Bartonella infections are misdiagnosed with lymphoma because of the swollen lymphs that you encounter, that you can also see in those pictures. So, which are the factors that affect your symptoms? Some of the factors that affect the Bartonellosis symptoms are: first, the bacteria strain type that we've already discussed. Secondly, the constitutional weakness prior to infection. Also, your immune system health plays a big role. Other types of chronic infections that you already have play a big role, and the nature of the inoculation vector. Bartonella bacilliformis is specific to South America. It produces a profound anemia which can even lead to death. And if death did not occur, people experience blood-filled warts on the body, a kind of angiomatosis. Bartonella as a Lyme co-infection is much harder to treat, and the symptoms are more severe, as well as the inflammations are more pronounced. And the cytokine cascade is much more complex. The Bartonella will attack first the weak parts of your body. So if you have worked, for example, with toxic chemicals for a long time, you are in contact with them continuously, the Bartonella will naturally prefer to locate in your liver. If you have stressed, for example, your joints during heavy physical work for many years, Bartonella will localize in your large joints. And the insidious part of this type of bacteria is that Bartonellas have a parasitic strategy to establish a persistent infection of the host, and their virulence is based on subversion of the host cells with effector molecules delivered via type 4 secretion system. Also inductions of pathological angiogenesis, including apoptosis, which is cell death, and activation of hypoxia-inducing factors. The use of so-called afimbrial adhesins like Yersinia, also an incorporation of the lipopolysaccharides with low endotoxic potency in the outer membrane, and several other virulence factors that help the Bartonella to persist in the endothelial cells and the erythrocytes. And the infection of the central nervous system leads to many cognitive problems that you've already seen in the list of symptoms, as well as neurodegenerative diseases, such as an infection in the hippocampus that can cause memory problems, unexplained rage, as well as homicidal attacks and spatial disorientation. When the infection takes place in the cerebral cortex, it causes problems with memory, attention capacity, perceptual awareness, language use, as well as clarity of thought. If you have an infection of the hypothalamus, there you can see that you have problems then with the body temperature, so you feel very cold all the time, for example. It also can cause hunger impulses, increased fatigue, and interrupted sleep cycles. It can also cause encephalitis and meningitis, and MS-like symptoms such as tingling in the limbs and severe pain. An infection of the skin leads to non-healing skin ulcers that show tumor-like proliferation of the blood vessels, and similar kind of lesions may be also internal on various organs, but most often they are on the skin surface, as you can see also from these disturbing pictures. And one of the big problems with Bartonella is that they infect your whole blood, especially the red blood cells. They are the major target of the Bartonella, and because they need hem from our blood to survive. And therefore they begin seeding new bacteria into the bloodstream every 4 to 8 days simultaneously from all Bartonella colonies in the body, and new Bartonella are spread into your bloodstream thereby. Studies show that every new Bartonella generation is also genetically slightly different, which is called pleomorphism each time, so they mutate, which is a strategy of this bacteria to confuse our immune system. And after 10 to 14 days of past the infection, the bacteria is going into different endothelial locations, and therefore the PCR testing technique cannot identify Bartonella in the blood easily. The red blood cells cannot engulf other cells, thus the Bartonella have a so-called deforming compound that open a pore in the blood cells, and the bacteria can then penetrate into your blood cells. Once they get into your red blood cells, they form a vacuole and start replicating. The intelligent strategy continues, namely that the Bartonellas can also limit the number of penetrated bacteria to only 8 per blood cell, and this is happening in order not to burst the cell. And when they decide to enter the red blood cells in a higher number, it is to intentionally burst all Bartonella in the bloodstream and to colonize other sites. So very intelligent, this little bacteria, unfortunately, for us. About 2.5 million per second red blood cells are produced in the bone marrow, and we have a total of 25 to 30 trillion red blood cells, also known as erythrocyte. And they live for about 120 days, which is 4 months, of course, before they are scavenged. When they finish their cycle, the erythrocytes are redirected to the spleen, the liver and the bone marrow for recycling purposes, and these sites are preferred by the Bartonella that develop its colonies in the endothelial lining of your liver, your spleen and bone marrow preferentially. Hemoglobin is also being oxidized with PMNs, which are polymorphonuclear leukocytes or polymorphonuclear neutrophils, to so-called methahemoglobin, an altered hemoglobin with an iron instead of iron 2 plus ions. And this pathway creates many of the Bartonella symptoms. Usually the methemoglobin has a concentration of 1 to 2% in your blood, but with the Bartonella this amount gets much higher and does symptoms such as anxiety, headaches, dyspnea on exertion, fatigue, confusion, dizziness, tachypnea, palpitations, seizures, arrhythmia. All of those are specific Bartonellosis symptoms that you will encounter. Extracellularly living Bartonella also moving hem from side to side, which is another way they use to colonize our bodies. Alright, so now that we understand better the insidious nature of these bacteria strains, let's talk about holistic approaches to cure this infection. So, Bartonella, as we've learned, are antibiotic resistant. Therefore, we cannot use antibiotics. But we can use a whole range of natural supplements and remedies, as you will see, that work and will help you get rid of the Bartonella infection. What do we have to consider in any type of holistic treatment for Bartonella? First, each individual that is infected with Bartonella will present slightly different symptoms. As we have seen, there is a whole list of them. Thus, you will always apply a core protocol that you have to follow up by specific therapy protocols for those individual symptoms. Secondly, for severely infected people, the protocol can have a duration of 12 to 18 months and has to be slightly adjusted about every 2 to 3 months due to the Bartonella pleomorphisms that we discussed already, which means that they mutate slightly all the time. Thirdly, the Bartonellosis is possible to be healed completely, and that's the good news, although the symptoms may be sometimes unbearable, such as the need for a wheelchair even, or psychoattacks and severe pain that you might experience. Some of other infected people are asymptomatic carriers, and the symptoms will intensify with the immune system depression and aging process. So, with the holistic Bartonellosis core protocol that we're going to present to you here, we target the following things. First, we need to reduce the cytokine cascade that is triggered by the Bartonella infection. Secondly, we need to protect and normalize the red blood cells. Then we need to protect the heart and blood vessels. We also need to protect and normalize the endothelial cells and protect the spleen, liver and bone marrow, as well as the lymphatic system. And last but not least, we need to help our immune system to deal with this infection. So let's see with which supplements and remedies we can do that. And here you go with our core protocol, Bartonella core protocol. It's based on natural remedies, 100% natural. They are proprietary blend that contain vivid artemisinin and ultra pure DMSO, as well as other herbs, organic herbs of course, that have been very carefully compounded in the right amount to help you deal with all of the symptoms and the infection. First, we have developed a specific supplement or remedy, natural remedy, which is called HERBESO Bartonella Antibacterial. It's a proprietary blend like all of the HERBESO products that you can only find at lyranara.me, and I'm gonna post the links to all of the HERBESO products in the description box below for you. This one contains vivid artemisinin that has been compounded like all HERBESO products with ultra pure pharmaceutical grade DMSO and other antibacterial specific herbs extracts to eradicate the Bartonella infections. The dosage that is recommended here is 1 teaspoon 4 to 6 times per day for about 6 to 8 weeks. Then we have the HERBESO Cytokine Stop, again a proprietary blend like all HERBESO products of ultra pure DMSO with other specific organic herbs. This one is meant to extract and to modulate the Bartonella specific cytokine cascade. Dosage here 1 teaspoon, again 4 to 6 times per day for about 6 to 8 weeks. Then we recommend a HERBESO organ regulator. That is meant to support your liver, your spleen, your brain, and your heart, and dosage is the same as above. Next on the list is the HERBESO Immune Booster. We've discussed we need to also help our immune system, and this one will help you again with ultra pure DMSO and very specific organic herbs that will help you boost your immune system. The dosage is again as before. And as we have discussed already, on top of this basic protocol, we need to address the specific symptoms. And here, some of the symptoms that we need to address are, for example, anxiety, but also sleep disturbances, fatigue, anemia, etc. And here we have also developed unique HERBESO products to help you achieve this. First on the list is the HERBESO PRN, which is the protection and regeneration of neuronal cells. Again, like all HERBESO products, I will not repeat myself, and very proprietary blend of ultra pure pharmaceutical grade DMSO and multiple herbal organic herbs. This one will help you support your central nervous system, your autonomous nervous system, and will keep them working well. It also supports neuronal cells building, eliminates bacterial and viral caused brain fog, confusion, and it also treats migraines. Dosage 1 teaspoon 4 to 6 times per day. We also recommend that you take it in conjunction with supplement NAC 2000 milligrams 2 times per day, as well as ginkgo biloba quarter of a teaspoon 3 times daily. Next on the list, if you have anxiety as a symptom, we have the unique HERBESO anti-anxiety preparation for you. It prevents anxiety, panic, fear, hysteria attacks, promotes also calmness and a balanced mental emotional state. Dosage is 1 teaspoon 5 times per day for 6 to 8 weeks. And for the best results, we also recommend that you use it in conjunction with HERBESO Depression Free, HERBESO Mind Balancing, and HERBESO Emotions Plus. Next, if you experience sleep disturbances, we have the HERBESO Sleep Well to help you regain healthy sleep patterns and balance your circadian rhythm. The dosage here is 1 teaspoon 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed, and you can also add 6 to 10 grams of melatonin to that. New, only for Bartonella infections, we have developed the HERBESO Fatigue Fight and the Anemia Well. The Fatigue Fight, as the name already suggests, will treat your fatigue, will also promote alertness and a balanced mental state. Dosage here 1 teaspoon 5 times per day for 6 to 8 weeks. We also recommend that you supplement with cold pressed whey protein called Avema. And then the HERBESO Anemia Well. It's meant to improve the red blood cell count, also eliminate anemia symptoms and promote a healthy blood. Dosage 1 teaspoon 5 times per day 6 to 8 weeks, and again we recommend that you supplement with NAC 2000 milligrams twice per day. And here is a list of natural supplements that will also help you with your Bartonella infection. L-arginine is recommended for its endothelial activities, about 2000 to 4000 milligrams per day. Also NAC 2000 milligrams twice per day. EGCG with quercetin is recommended. Vitamin E, pomegranate juice, luteolin, olive oil, ginkgo biloba, royal jelly, zeolite 15 drops 4 times per day. Also shiitake mushrooms are great, and fermented whey protein 9 grams per day. But as we've mentioned already in the presentation, this type of bacteria, the Bartonella, is very difficult to treat because it mutates all the time, and it also, depending on the strain, as you have seen, will show different symptoms, and therefore you need personal advice and guidance through all of this therapy. You can use our health services that I'm gonna link in the description box below for you to do just that. You can also call us at any time and contact us via email at shop@lyra.com. I'm gonna post also the complete contact information in the description box below for you. If you've enjoyed this presentation, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to support our work. Also hit the bell button, the notifications button, so you don't miss out on any of our new videos that are produced and come out weekly. And with all that being said, stay healthy. Until next time.